And I think the most visual, compelling statement or the most compelling evidence I have is in this map section, the most damning evidence. And it really kind of shows it such a clear point of view about the decline of grassroots against the professionalization of everything. And what I mean by that is what we're doing is we're comparing, and actually I should explain grassroots. When I say grassroots, I use youth sports as a catch-all for grassroots, and that's anything happening at the non-professional level. Like, where are people growing up from that are trying to get into that professional level, and that comes from the grassroots, right? Whether that's high school, youth sports, or a 45-year-old rec gym guy, I consider that all grassroots, right? And if you look at what we're looking at this graph, and what it's showing is Google searches for the professional league and then Google searches for the sport that professional league represents, comparing them side by side, and then using a time shot to compare before and after to see where the growth and decline is, and in a visual map form. And we'll start with the NBA. With basketball, the only state that was searching the NBA more than the sport of basketball was California in 2004. Fast forward to 2014, 12, 13 more states are searching for the NBA more than they're searching for the sport of basketball. And it repeats for the NFL and American football. 2004, most states are still searching for American football. Fast forward to 2014, a lot more states are searching for the NFL versus for the sport of American football. And then same thing repeats for MLB, for baseball. Then when we skip down to soccer, both in England and the USA, I did this exercise globally and with the USA. We see soccer has such strong grassroots within the USA and in England that the professional leagues don't make a dent. For the MLS just isn't popular enough to I think make a dent, because soccer, youth soccer especially, grassroots soccer is what the first sport a lot of kids get put onto on a Saturday morning, right, for their parents, and easy play for that, right? And in England, they just love soccer, I think, in that country so much. I think it's the inverse, where soccer is just so the grassroots of soccer is so popular, like Sunday League or Baller League UK or something like that. That Premier League, while obviously being super popular, doesn't stand a chance to the love of the game from a grassroots level. And then we see that again for PGA Tour versus golf, where in the USA, golf, the love of grassroots golf, or just searching for golf, right? People are playing at their local course and searching stuff about that rather than the PGA Tour. Doesn't mean PGA Tour isn't popular, but just in comparison to the grassroots of the sport. However, NHL, again, starts to have the trends that we saw from the MLB, NFL, NBA, right? Of where, especially really for hockey, the grassroots of hockey is dying, and it's actually seen again in Canada too. But in the USA, it's really striking how much stronger the NHL searches are than the sport of hockey searches. In Canada, it's been over 2004. They were searching for the NHL way more than ice hockey, and it's only gotten even more lopsided in 2014 and beyond. But what's really surprised me to show this evidence again is with India and cricket. If you see 2004, 2014, India is searching predominantly cricket. Just people are searching anything about the sport, not the professional league. And that's because the professional league, I don't think, even got set up around that time. But now you look at the professional league, outpaces people searching for the sport of cricket in India, which says a lot, because cricket in India is, if you know anything about cricket in India, people love cricket in India. So to see the professional league overtaking the sport is very shocking. And especially too in soccer for Italy and Spain, you see two very popular professional leagues in the world growing their sport interest in their respective countries. But if you look at it 2004 to 2014 for both Italy and Spain, people were searching the sport of soccer far more. And then in Italy, it's not even close. People are only searching for Serie A in every single part of Italy, much more than they are for the grassroots of soccer. And in Spain, you're starting to see that trend too. So it says a lot. And even if we zoom in down here, right, to metro area, city side things as well, however you break it down, the same thing is happening, where searches at the youth level for the grassroots level are declining in favor of the professionalization or the higher level of the sport. Conclusion time. Thanks for watching, y'all. This is the first video in the Sports from Business Perspective series, so look out for that. This is also the first video breaking down this LeBron report, or second video, I guess I should say. The short was the first video. This is the second video, but we're going to continue breaking down this LeBron report as part of the Sports from a Business Perspective series, but this has just been more off the cuff, loose, a little, fun. Just kind of taking it easy, bring people in, and we're going to just, keep diving into it, and, maybe it'll get more complicated, but I think it's still going to be based off of something people can understand, the tangible visuals and, easy data points. So, there wasn't too much math this time around. I think a couple other miscellaneous slides that I had to do with this video. There was one speaking to the growth and decline of YouTube searches for different sports, which is very interesting. A lot of good little data points there. And then also another fun one was art of drawing. I have this graph that I was doing my research, for this report, 2-3 years ago, where I put how drawing is more popular than hockey and volleyball as a sport overall. The Google searches for drawing outpaces Google searches for hockey and volleyball. Speaks more to that grassroots decline in those sports. But it's catching up to baseball and actually has a faster growth rate than baseball. So pretty crazy to see, and it actually still holds true today. If anything, I think it might have actually caught up to baseball by now. Anyway, now we're going to go to the strategy section. Going to do this off the top of my dome. We're going to break it down to 3 different points, being events, infrastructure, and technology. So number 1, events. I just think when it comes to youth sports and grassroots sports, there used to be rules, right? For the NFL, couldn't play games in the same day, or within a certain distance of high school sports or a college game, and vice versa for college games couldn't be around high school games. But now college games are every day of the week. NFL games on Thursdays and Mondays and Sundays, and high school games are nationally televised. So I think make an event, like create an event that, props up a local community to, have pride in what's happening, but also ladders up into their interest in the higher professional levels. And I think it's why having a sport week, you know what I mean? Or, why can't you package a high school to college to a professional game in an area? Let's take Dallas, for instance, and create a true event from it. Maybe you don't have to do that every week, but you can do it, at the beginning, you can do it in the middle, you can do that, 3-4 weeks out of the season as a test, so I definitely think making an event, creating some sort of experience, from start to finish, in a week, from a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where it's all in on football and you're getting different experience and perspectives from different levels. And, you're actually getting the real-time visual of how each one of the levels reflect and affect and grow off each other. And that leads into infrastructure, where I think that also needs a lot of investment, and that represents the biggest business opportunity, because think about the places and spaces where grassroots is played, a lot of outdoors, a lot of shared spaces that aren't dedicated purely for the sport. And that's where I think, stuff like having courts just for basketball, like imagine a pure basketball gym, in the sense that there's multiple courts, all for that experience of centering itself around basketball. And what other sports play on courts like volleyball? So you can even group, different sports within that. My comp for this is there's a lot of these indoor baseball places that have these hitting lanes and pitching lanes, indoor gymnastics, right? All these places dedicated for the sport to improve for local athletes. I think you need to replicate that for these sports like basketball. It's harder to do with hockey, but volleyball can definitely get on the board with this. There's a lot of potential there. And then last, the technology. I think the youth of today, they embrace technology. They don't know anything else, right? iPad generation and YouTube and smartphones, right? Things that weren't widely available in 2004, and so I think that needs to be integrated in the sport. I think whatever way you can integrate it in a fun, impactful, but not eroding way is important, because it can't just be analog and purist forever, just like how college athletes are getting paid now, right? The future is here. How do you integrate it? How do you make it so people can jump into it and say, oh, wow, this is fun. This is a headline, but also makes it easier for me to jump into it. Just like sports betting kind of did, was a quick one. But I think the integrating technology in the way that I'm speaking to would actually supersede what sports betting can do, because it's actually making the sport itself better, not just participating in the pageantry of the sport, but actually making the playing of the sport better using technology. So that's all for the first video. Thanks, guys. Peace.